love photography? Do you enjoy shooting all different genres from portraits to landscapes to sports? Have you ever thought about starting your own photography business? If you can answer yes to any of those, you have something in common with our next guest here on Photography TV. Except for maybe one small thing. Our guest is only 15 years old. Let's get started. All right, hello, welcome to Photography TV. We're here to educate, entertain, and inspire you around photography. Today, I know that you're going to be inspired. We have 15-year-old Will Lindsay-Perez, which, let that sink in for just a moment. 15 years old. This is incredible. Will's work speaks for itself. I'm going to put some images up throughout this video so you can see the quality that he brings. But I'll just say it now. I'm incredibly inspired and impressed by Will's approach at 15 years old. So Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. Well, I am honored to have you and definitely looking forward to the conversation.
It's an honor to be here.
Good deal.
I can't wait.
All right, right on. So Will, we always start, I believe every photographer has a story. Let's start off. Tell us your story.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go far back here. I'm gonna go right to the beginning. So yes. I think it mainly started when my dad had his camera. So my dad got this camera. It was like the first time I'd kind of worked with a camera, and I wasn't doing anything serious then. You know, classic, just taking landscapes, that kind of thing. Classic, like, beginner photos.
Okay.
And then I started to sort of learn a bit about the camera, and I really knew nothing, like absolutely nothing about the camera. So I'd sit in my room, and I'd just turn the dials, turn the different settings, see what changed what. I think it was an 1100D, Canon 1100D.
Okay.
So super basic camera, and that was what sort of kicked me off. I learned about manual, aperture, everything like that.
And you're what age at that point?
Oof, that was probably 2-3 years ago. So I was 13 onwards.
Okay.
And I think by about a year, I had locked down how to use the camera. And then I just started shooting friends, your classic like steel wool exposures, long exposure stuff, different challenges. And I actually had a teacher. A funny story is that I was in school and my teacher took my phone off me. And he said, "Oh, what's this photo on your lock screen?" And I just said, "Oh, I'm just taking photos every now and then." And he actually used to take a few photos. His name's Mr. William. Really like down-to-earth teacher.
Yes.
Absolutely loved him. And he started setting me challenges. So he said, "I want you to go out and shoot this. I want you to go out and shoot that." And that was what really got me started. That's what I was like, I love doing this. Like, let's keep going. And since then, yeah, I've just been picking up the camera, shooting, learning different stuff, learning how to use the camera. And then recently, I've been taking it more seriously. This is when I've sort of started going, this is when I want to get into things, when I want to start with portraits, start different stuff, try absolutely everything. And yeah, that's where I am today. I've got the portraits going, clients, stuff like that, and I'm loving every minute of it, really. So it's really good.
All right. Nice. That story, we'll kind of take it a few different ways. Let's start with kind of that learning curve. We'll stick with that, and then as we kind of talk through that and how you really got to the point where you are, we'll start to talk about the business and the strategy that you have in place. So
awesome.
Tell us more about your teacher. So you had someone that saw what you were capable of, inspired by that, and just gave you those challenges. Like, give us an example. What was a challenge that he gave you that you felt really helped your growth and keep you going?
I remember quite vividly, actually. There was me and one of my friends called Amy, and sometimes she'd model for me, take a couple of photos of her. But I remember him saying, "Do you know what long exposure is? Like, do you know what that?" And at the time, I was like, "No idea. Like, what even is that? Sounds really technical." And he showed me the steel wool photos, the classic spinning steel wool, and I was like, "Whoa, that looks crazy! Like, I want to try that." So I just Googled the settings. How does it work? How can you do it? All the YouTube videos. And I remember I went out to the park with my dad. Okay. And it was freezing cold, absolutely freezing. And I got him to stand there and spin this steel wool, and I just kept shooting. And I loved it. I got those images, and since then, that was kind of that was the one I really remember. That steel wool shoot was that was sort of the start for me. And then since then, I've just been doing the photos of my friend who was in the same class with him.
Yes.
And we sort of had quite a close bond between teacher, my friend, and me. So we'd always shoot and show him the images. He'd tell me what to change, stuff like that. And then I think it was a year after, he actually had to leave the school, which I was really gutted about. But yeah, he really started me off. He really sort of gave me the kick in the ass that I needed.
That's cool. And he wasn't even a photography teacher per se. He just had a
No,
photography background.
yeah, something like that. He used to shoot before. I think he took a
Okay.
couple photos from what I remember, but this wasn't even a specific photography class. This
Okay.
was just DT, which is design technology in the UK. I don't know what you call it over in America,
Sure.
but I'd spend the whole lessons just talking to him about photography completely off task.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I just couldn't stop. I wanted to learn everything
You were
essentially.
hooked. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Where did you get the motivation and kind of the thought process? Hey, I want to make this towards a business and start working on a business side of things. Take us through your approach there.
I think about a year and a half ago is when I was like, I can do more with this.
Yes.
And that was when I first started taking friends out. Hey, let's just do a quick portrait shoot.
Okay.
You can get some photos, etc. And that's when I really started to sort of put myself under pressure. Like, okay, I can't screw up here. Like, this is it. And then more recently, I did a takeover on Canon's Snapchat.
Okay.
I think it's my Canon's photos, and it was really unprepared. And I think I had like 4 or 5 hours on the account. And one morning I went out at 9. I had 3 friends, and I was like, right, we're going to do a portrait shoot. We're going to document it. This is going to be like the big push
Yes.
towards getting that business going and getting that. And the same day of doing the shoot, I was traveling to Spain
Okay.
to see some family. So I had 6 hours to shoot, prepare, and edit all these photos whilst doing this takeover. And it all went so well. All the images were really nice. I was really happy, and that's when my sort of social pages rocketed. All that stuff went up. I think it was like I hit 1,000 in December, and that took me like quite a few years.
Yes.
And now I'm already like on 2,000, which for me is like such a huge deal.
Absolutely.
I know it's not big numbers, but getting the occasional question from people, getting the email like, "Oh, I love your stuff. Like,
Yes.
keep going." That's what really like pushes me, and just to get images that people enjoy is the main thing that really that makes me want to do more.
Man, you're definitely doing it. Congratulations. Those are big numbers. Your phase building that, growing it, that's awesome. So I will admit I'm not an expert when it comes to Snapchat. I'm a little bit more in tune with Instagram,
Okay.
YouTube. That's kind of more my space. So
Yeah,
give me
yeah.
a little bit of a brief on, okay, a takeover, what that is, but more importantly, like how did that come to be? Because it sounds like a credible opportunity. Definitely you made the most of it.
Yeah.
Like set that up for us, and then ultimately kind of talk through what benefits it provided to you.
Okay, so I started by thinking like, how can I get people to see my work?
Yes.
Because I know that a lot of the people that would see my work would be family friends like from my year, etc.
Yep.
And I think you might have seen in the Canon Photos page on Instagram, they have like 1 point something million followers.
Yes.
They're from the UK, and I contacted them, and I just literally sent them a DM, and I was like, "Do you have a free Instagram page, a free Snapchat account that I could just use, document the shoot? I'm young, I want to get going, and I think it would be interesting." I didn't really get a reply for a few weeks, and I just kept going. I wasn't going to give up because I thought it would be a really cool idea. And eventually, one day, it was in the evening, I was like, "Do you think you'll have the account free anytime that I can use?" And he said, "Yeah, how about tomorrow morning?" And I was like, "Whoa, this is it. This could work." So I set up the shoot, I set up the models, I set up the locations, and I just went out and I was like, right, what am I going to talk about? So I thought, what do people want to see? And it was mainly gear. What gear do I use? Preparation, how am I going to shoot, and tips. So that was what I went into, and I was completely new. So I just start the takeover and be like, "What's up, guys? Taking over the Snapchat today. Follow along. Drop me any questions. Blah blah blah." And people loved it. People send their questions through. You get screenshots of the gear, and then you send them to the Instagram, and it was amazing. It was a lot of pressure, but
Yes.
because between shooting, remembering to do the Snapchat, and then you had to get home, and I think I had like 2 hours to edit the whole shoot before I had to fly out and write the blog post and post it on Instagram.
That's right.
And tell people about it. but the response was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was absolutely.
And I love how you had a plan for it. Like, that's incredible. It wasn't just, oh, just go out and shoot and just random things will come. It was, what's the gear? What's going to be the approach? What's the final process, right?
Yeah.
There's a story to it, which I'm sure made it that much more successful as well.
Yeah. So I didn't want to plan it too much, but I thought it needs to have a kind of a structure. Like, how am I going to make it interesting? Because I didn't want to ramble on about random stuff,
right.
Which is easy to do.
Sure.
So people really enjoyed the quick tips.
Yes.
Little things like if I was shooting, like, oh, make sure the eye's 100% sharp. Make sure you're placing them in a different part of the frame. Little things which I think, once you've got enough of them, are so important.
Yes.
People absolutely loved it. It was a huge deal, and I think I've done 2 more or 1 more since then, because the guy who I messaged first was like, that was amazing. That was a huge success. So every now and then I can just drop him a message, see if the account's free, and it's a lot of work, but I love it. I love getting the response. I love seeing people asking questions and being like, how can I do this? How can I get better? How can, like, helping people and seeing people be where I was a year ago, or people who are 10 years ahead of me and still ask questions is absolutely amazing.
All right, so you've got the exposure, you've been able to kind of get that trajectory. Your website looks incredible. Your work speaks for itself. Take us through kind of the development of the site and what you're hoping to accomplish with it.
I think the website was one of the first things that I thought I need to set up. I think you've probably seen his videos. You know Jared Poe?
Oh yeah, sure.
Throwing his photo. Yeah. So I was watching him for a while, and I've always seen how he goes on website, Squarespace. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with Squarespace. Just how they this isn't sponsored in any way, but
exactly.
Just how clean it looked.
Yes.
And I thought, I want somewhere that I can call my space.
Okay.
If someone says, I want somewhere that if someone says, oh, you're a photographer, because I'm young, it's not really, they don't really take me seriously. But as soon as I show them the website, show them some of my work, they're like, oh, okay.
That's exactly right.
So it's constantly changing. The website, every single week, I'll change this, I'll change that. But I wanted somewhere that makes my work look good, and somewhere that I can sort of showcase and talk to people, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was the main starting point. I just wanted somewhere that was sort of somewhere to call mine that isn't Instagram, and somewhere that just made my work just pop, make it look really, really good.
That's spot on.
And that was the main point. And then ever since, I've been starting a blog, just keeping loads of blog posts, which keeps people coming to the website. And then prints. I started selling some landscape prints, which was quite a big deal for me, actually. I knew it wouldn't be a huge revenue generator, because that's not really the reason I was doing it, but just to try something different, try and set up a store, see how it works. That was the main goal for me, and it took so long doing each photo. But I learned so much. So I think setting up the store and just giving people something to see was the main thing. Because if people come to the blog and they see the blog posts, then they'll see the images. And yeah, that was the main thing for me, really.
And so your print sales, when you say setting up the store, you're talking about the online store. Are the print sales coming exclusively from traffic to the business, or do you have other ways of finding buyers, etc., for your prints?
Yeah, it's rough. It's actually more from external people saying, "Oh, I love this photo," and I'll be like, "Oh, well, if you want it as a print, you can check out the website."
Okay.
Because a lot of the people that follow are my friends. And family who, I mean, they're not the kind of people that would buy one of my photos. It's more clients.
Yeah.
So it tends to be more people from word of mouth.
Okay.
And it really isn't a huge business, if that kind of makes sense, the prints, because I have it up there. But I mean, if I get an inquiry for a print, I'm like, oh wow, it's amazing. But it's just there for I'd say for professionalism, but it's there to give people something to look at.
That's good.
To give it that sense of, oh, he's serious about this, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and I think your website overall gives that impression. In fact, when you emailed me the first time, your points I think were spot on. Was, hey, I think the audience would really like hearing from a young creative, which I totally agree with. Very inspired by that. But then I remember the line specifically said, hey, take a look at my website, and the work can speak for itself. And that's exactly what you said earlier. Hey, some people can look at my age and just say, he's only 15, he's young. But once you pull up the website, the age doesn't matter anymore. The work speaks for itself, and it's really a commendation on your part of just the great work that you've done. So
thank you.
Take me through like what I'm obviously impressed by your work, but also just by your approach at this age to be able to think through the business approach, understand the importance of telling a story and building it all together. Like, where do you feel you were able to just be so professional at your age, at your experience just a few years in? Like, take us through kind of how you got to the point you are in that regard.
Oof. I don't know. I like doing something different, if that kind of makes sense.
Sure.
Especially at this age, when you're doing something like I am, and I know there's probably way more people who are like, oh, he's not the only one. But,
yes, that's good.
Doing something different that is what stands out, I think. Yes. Especially at this age, if people see a 15-year-old setting himself up, preparing, etc., it almost seems like, oh, he's serious.
Yes.
I think I want to say I enjoy it, which I obviously do, but I don't know. I'm still young is the thing. I still have so much to learn. I've got exams, I've got friends, I've got the parties, everything like that. So I try and keep a balance between when I have to be professional, I'm 100% professional. If I have to get something done, it's done. If I have an idea, I can't stop thinking about it. But obviously I have to remember, like, I'm 15.
Yeah.
I've got so much more, and that's almost what I love. If I'm doing this now, what can I be doing in 20 years? If you know what I mean.
Oh, spot on. I love your vision for the future, and the point of balance is spot on. But understanding, hey, if I'm doing this today, imagine what it's going to grow to in the future. Take us through, what are your aspirations? If you could kind of plot your path, what do you think it looks like?
I'm not sure. I mean, if I think about it properly, I have exams next year, so that will be quite a sort of lockdown way to look at it. But I don't want to let exams stop me from shooting, because I know I won't be able to. I won't be able to spend a year without doing anything, just because I know I just won't be able to. But in the future, I just want to see where it takes me. See what I can shoot. See maybe if YouTube is the way forward, if portraits are the way forward, weddings. I know so little, which at the moment, which almost makes me want to keep going.
Yes.
The fact that I know what I don't know. I think the fact that I don't know what's going to happen in the future is almost what keeps me going.
There you go.
Because I think if I'm at this age, so much can happen.
Yes.
I could go into weddings. In 5 years, I could be like, you know what? Maybe this just isn't for me. But I'm trying everything. Like, I've started going into video. I think I have had a new video project which I worked on. I'm just trying to do a bit of everything so that overall, in the future, I can just branch out and choose what I want to do.
That's spot on. So. Yeah, and I can see that in the approach of, hey, I'm going to gain experiences in all these different areas, but they're still moving you in the path of being a creative and gaining the experience in that regard. But you're not narrowing it so far down that you're making a decision this early on. To your point, it's not time to make that decision, but giving yourself the experience is key. Especially now, I think I started by shooting like flowers, macro shots, and I had such a huge selection, which is why on my website I don't just have portraits, which is what I consider to be like my strongest aspect. I have wildlife, I have sport, I have landscape, to kind of show that there is that like huge spread of variety. Because I don't want to lock down now and say, oh, I'm only a wedding photographer, because I'm not. Sometimes if I see a landscape, I'm like, oh, let's spend some time doing landscapes. If I'm on holiday, I might go out and shoot some landscapes. I don't want to lock myself into a certain thing, because I know I still don't know enough. I mainly find portraits is where I say happiest, but where I get the most enjoyment. Because I find if I think up a portrait and the expression's perfect and I've nailed the lighting and I'm in editing and I'm like, oh, this is it. I've got the shot. It's perfect.
I get so much more joy from when I look at a good landscape or a perfect sports shot, perfectly timed. And I think that's almost down to the fact that I just kind of love working with people.
Yes.
I enjoy getting that expression. I enjoy being with people, working with them, getting the shot, and all that work which comes into the final portrait. It's almost where I'm like, yes, like that's the one.
Yes.
That's what I worked for. And I don't get that buzz for other genres. But I mean, I still want to try everything.
That's good. That's good. I think that's the right approach, to be honest. I love that you're doing that and can certainly continue to do so. As you think about your teacher early on, I think his name was Mr. William, was that it?
Mr. Williams.
Yes,
yeah.
Mr. Williams. He moved on. Do you currently have another mentor or someone that you're kind of following in that regard?
Well, since he left, I was kind of just, like, I say on my own. I mean, I've got like all the support from my friends, etc. But it was mainly just, like, I say just me, but it was mainly just seeing what worked.
Yes.
I'm still in touch with him now, which is
great.
Occasional. I send occasional email, but it's kind of just, you know when something works.
Yes.
And I think as photographers, we're our toughest critics.
Sure.
To be honest, by the end of every shoot I've done, I hate every photo I've taken. Yeah, I think I just have. He set me up to have the self-motivation and the self sort of want to just get better and just keep shooting. And if that doesn't work, then just try this.
Yes.
And I'm really fond of the fact that it's okay to have a bad week, to not touch your camera for a week. And I think for so many young people, and especially myself, you just can't. Sometimes you just can't get an image. You just can't, and you have to know when that's okay. I have weeks when I'm like, oh, I haven't had any creative ideas in a while. Like, maybe I'm going off it, and that's scary.
Yes.
That is really scary to think that perhaps this isn't for you. And I hate the feeling, but you have to know that it's okay to have a bad week. It's okay to not have a camera in your hands, because sometimes you need that creative break.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
And not to get down on yourself, I think is the point you're making as well. Is it's okay. There's gonna be the ebbs and flows. Don't get down on yourself there. So take us through, as a young creative. You mentioned earlier you're not the only one out there. Clearly, you're representing yourself very well. What message would you give to other young creatives, or even creators at any age, that you'd like to share?
I'd say get started. I know it sounds like your classic, oh, just get out and shoot, but literally just get up and shoot. The more you shoot, the more you learn. If you have the passion, you will learn it. And I think that's the hardest part for some people, is from from learning nothing to learning something. That is the hardest part. And for me, it was literally just fiddling with my camera, learning what I literally had to learn from what the autofocus switch did. And yeah, so just get up, out and shoot. Don't give up. As I said, you have your ups and downs, and don't let that get down on you, because it's so easy to think, oh, I'm not thinking of anything. I give up. And I've spoken to photographers who have said, I had to put my camera down because I just couldn't do it. I was getting stressed. And I think if you're not in the right mindset to take photos, that shows in your photographs themselves. So I think overall, just don't give up, and just make sure you know when to take photos and when not to take photos.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the message. It kind of ends where it started of, hey, you got to get out there. You got to make it happen. And that's the way to learn, by getting out and doing. So the message is consistent. Again, super inspiring. Will, Lindsay-Perez, 15 years old. The work is incredible. Before we go,
thank you.
Tell people, where they can find you if they want to follow along.
Well, my Instagram is at Lindsay-Perez Photography. That's sort of where I'm most active. You can follow along there. Be sure to hit a follow. And my website, Lindsay-Perez Photography, is where I've got some of my best work. So be sure to check that out. And I hope to see you guys soon. Yeah, right on. And you've got a new YouTube channel as well, which I'll put a link to. So all those links that Will just talked about will be in the description. So feel free to subscribe to both of us here on YouTube. And thanks so much for joining us. Thank you.